I guess I'm the Zoom meeting started here.
That, but I understand, like, I can't give away my dash. I can't do it.
Better write a note though.
No, no, I'm not leaving. We'll be buried together. I've had many offers. This position is basically like, no. All right, so I'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Walker.
Here.
Graylow. Smith.
Here.
Easy.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Any conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing none. There a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Can we add a culvert on 304?
Culvert on 304.
Just please talk about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Second that. Okay with you?
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any visitors to be heard for items that are not on the agenda, please.
Always on.
Always on. Thank you, County Commissioners. Chris Larson, Clay Union Electric. I won't keep a lot of your time tonight. I visited with Travis and I visited with Richard on this quite a few times and some of the county planning and zoning. With the Munger addition that's going on out there, I would just ask that the county make sure they take a good look at that. This is a joint jurisdictional issue out there. The city is requiring the developer to do a pre-annexation agreement on that. And that affects me, the rural electric, and the rural water. I can't speak for the rural water, but I speak with them on a regular basis. And it puts us in a tough situation because we're going to be required to put all the utilities in, and then it's going to get taken away from us. And in my case, on the electric side, we're not going to get our full cost back. No matter what the city says, we do not get our full cost back on it. So what's going to happen here, commissioners, and I just want to make this clear to you, if this agreement goes through, this agreement is between the city and the developer. There's nothing for me to get in there, even though the developer has asked our advice on helping him do that. If this goes through, as it probably will, I mean, the developer's in a sticky situation. He's basically, I sign it or I'm not going to get my development. And that's not right in my view. But what's going to happen on my end and the rural water, we're going to have to take our resources and put them towards a project that's going to get taken away from us. So what's going to happen? Right now, our policy on a housing development, we require the developer to pay 100% of the backbone infrastructure into that development. And then off of that backbone, in this case, I think it's 21 houses. Those 21 separate houses will get our normal policy, which says we will allow them 10 years of minimums. And starting January 1st, that'll be $6,000. So as long as it doesn't cost from the backbone into their house more than $6,000, they don't have to pay anything. but they sign an agreement saying they will pay 10 years of minimums with us. So we're basically banking that up front for them. Well, what's gonna happen if this pre-annexation agreement goes through is we're gonna have to say, no, either the developer pays 100% of everything, or we're gonna have to require the people building the houses to pay 100% of it, because we don't know if we'll ever get that investment back. So I just ask, as that comes before you, it's already went through the first reading. With the requirement, they do a pre-annexation agreement before the second reading. Please keep us in mind, because this affects members, our members, and our members are the whole county. They're Wakanda and everywhere else. So please keep that in mind when you are considering and looking at that second reading, that you keep us in mind, and anything you can do, I appreciate.
Sure, if you have a moment, yeah, so specific, is there specific language that you feel would be appropriate to include in the pre-annexation agreement?
I've actually worked with a developer and offered some language, and it's gotten thrown back.
Okay, what was the, or if you can summarize, like,
Well, right now, just to be fully honest, I'm not against the annexation. I understand where the city and maybe even the county benefit from the property taxes. The part that I'm against is where the city has 1 year from annexation to take the electric service. And there is a formula out there that says they pay, I think it's reconstruction process, but it's less depreciation. So by the time it all comes into play, we don't get our full cost back, because we can't include our costs for requiring crews to do this job and not other jobs, and just a number of things. Also, when any of our construction, we take a 35-year loan out. And so if we have to take a loan out on that and pay that off over 35 years, and let's say it gets annexed after 5 years, we're still paying on that loan, and we still, the rest of my members have to cover that loan. So what I offered for language was that it stays in the current utilities electric service unless the city and the utility come to a mutual buyout agreement, which could be different than what is specific in state law. We can agree to something different than that. And that's what the city is actually doing on the annexation part. They want the developer to say, yes, it's going to be annexed. The state law requires, I think it's 3/4 of the people out there. Well, right now, 3/4 of one is the one person instead of 3/4 of the 21 lots out there. So what I asked for was that we come to a mutual agreement for them to buy it out, which in my case, I would include more costs that I incur that I'm not allowed to by state law. So and this you're gonna cringe as county commissioners. I've offered a couple different things to put in the pre-annexation agreement that have been pushed back against. But the last one I said is just exactly what I told you. We're gonna have to require 100% costs. I said, well, then maybe the VCDC, the county, or the city can offer rebates to the homeowners out there to help cover their costs. But me and my entity, we have to be able to cover our costs, because my members in Wakanda and everywhere else shouldn't be paying those costs.
and just so we have an idea of kind of the scope of the cost that you're discussing. So already the developer is covering the cost of providing the backbone service to the developer.
Yeah,
That's just standard practice.
that's
what is-
standard right now.
So you said $6,000 cap, is that roughly what it would cost to get from that backbone, the service out to the houses there?
Every service could be different,
Yep.
depending on what is required in that house. I can't believe, the reason we set the policy up that way was to make it a minimal investment for the homeowners. So they should all be covered by that.
Okay,
They should
so-
not, so what I'm saying is, we allow $6,000, so if it was $3,000, they wouldn't pay it. If it was $7,000, they would have to pay $1,000 up front.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. All right. So roughly with 21 lots, something like that, like $120,000, $130,000.
that would be the maximum, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I guess one key fact is that you're required to provide service to them,
Yes,
whenever they build. So you're stuck, whichever way it turns out.
right. Yeah, I'm stuck.
Right.
I'm given the opportunity to serve those individuals as members. Now, whether that's for 1 year, 2 years, 20 years, we don't know. And that's where the rest of my members end up paying for it if it's less than the 10 years.
Now, under current state law, you're required to sell your investment out there at a depreciated cost plus other extra expenses of some sort. I don't remember the statute
So
right now. And
As
which
I-
depreciation schedule are you required to take? There are like half a dozen different depreciation schedules. So,
right, I
Yeah.
believe it states a straight line depreciation
okay,
schedule is what I believe the state law reads. And we're allowed the cost of the equipment less depreciation. And then if it requires us to have to reroute some of our other electric lines to provide normal service out there, we can add those costs to it. The other thing is then the city does reimburse us because we lose the territorial rates for that forever. So they are required to pay us 25% of the revenue for 7 of 11 years. So,
the greater, the seventh greatest of the 11.
no, so let's say when they annex it, there's 5 houses out there immediately. We get 25% of the revenue for those first 7 years. But let's say the rest of the lots don't develop until 2-3 years out. We get a maximum of 7 years on any lot. And let's say they didn't develop until year 10, we might only get reimbursement for 1 year.
And it's a straight line depreciation over how many years?
Well, however many years the service has been. So if the service was in there for 20 years, we'd have to take 20 years of depreciation.
How do you figure the depreciation on installations you currently own?
We have standard depreciation costs that are set by rural utility service.
And how many years is that?
I'd have to look, there's different levels,
There's 7 or
different levels of
15.
them, so,
Yeah, there's 30 depending on types of depreciation.
yeah, meters are different.
15 in your case.
Meters are different than the wires, the poles and all of that. We use a compound rate, I believe is what we do. Or a combined rate, I believe is what we've used in the past.
And why I bring it up and why it's important is that chances are that development won't be annexed for 20, 25, 30, 35 years. In which case, your assets would be depreciated out and you get 0 for that.
It just happened on the Hicus ground.
Well, that's why I bring it
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
that we all need to consider.
I guess maybe this is an unfair comparison, but let's say the farmer went out and bought a tractor and he used it for 5 years and then he sold it to his neighbor. Is it 5 years of depreciation less than it was, or is that tractor still as valuable to that farmer that day? And that's what it is to us.
That's the
No
example,
matter-
that's the example I've been using when folks have asked me or I've tried to explain this situation to them, that typically, in that scenario, the guy that's buying it wouldn't necessarily pay what the new purchase price was. And I've had a drill rig where they were asking more than what the new price was. They didn't tell me that, but I was good friends with the manufacturer, so I knew. But normally you would end up paying for that tractor a price somewhere lower than new purchase, but more than what it would be depreciated to at that point. So it'd be some price that's in between is probably what's fair for purchase of that tractor and purchase of your assets.
The other thing, if I may point out, is my argument back to the city, and I know you guys have a joint project with the new jail and everything out there. And I know money can be tight for everybody. But if the city would continue, even after they annexed it, got the property taxes, took over the sewer and water, if they allowed Clay Union to continue serving the electric rights, we pay them 6% of revenue for eternity on that project. Because they would get their 2%, I'll call it municipal tax that they get on everything else. Plus, there's a state law that says because I serve within the municipality, they get another 4% on top of that. And that's with any of my 200 members within the city limits of Vermillion that I have now. They pay state tax, the 2% municipal, and then another 4 on top of that. Because, so if I was to continue to serve this development after they annexed it, they get 6% and not have to put a dime into the electric utility service.
That's a third fact that I want to bring up, is that Clay Union presently has that situation.
There are
Both here
some.
in Vermillion and in Yankton.
Okay.
You still have that Allimax area, don't you, up in Yankton?
We serve some, but we don't pay any of that tax to them because the state law says they have to have their own rural electric, or they have to have their own electric utility. Yankton is served by us, BY, and Northwestern Energy. So we
Right.
don't have that tax over there. We do have it in Vermillion because Vermillion has an electric, municipal electric service.
But my point is that you do also have customers within the city limits of Yankton.
Yes, we do.
Does the city of Vermillion serve any customers outside of city limits?
The only part that I know of right now is on that corner of Highway 50 and 19, where the church is, right
Yes.
there on the corner. If you go a little bit further north, there's a housing development on the east side.
Yeah.
They serve some of those houses, and those are not in the city limits. And that goes back to when territorial law was established in the 70s. At that time, they developed who served what in service territory areas. But if the city was already serving them at the time and it was in Clay Union service territory, they got to keep it. Same thing with Clay Union. If we were serving in what was future city service territory, we got to keep it. So so I live at Bliss Point, and across the road, the Westgate area in there. If you look at the service territory maps, Clay Union serves one block, the city serves one block, and it's helter-skelter. And that was the reason, because that's how it was being served at the time of territory.
So I would expect that the major expense, because so Clay Union's a little more, but you're serving a large area and you have to run long trunk lines everywhere. So I'd expect that the major additional expense for this development versus something within Vermillion is the trunk lines to get the power up there. Have you had any discussions with the city about saying, okay, you're already serving some areas outside of
out of city limits. You guys are planning on annexing this at some point. So you build out you're responsible for the cost of, or arrangement with the developer for building out the lines to the houses, and you serve these few houses.
We have not had that discussions. And we
Just put
already,
it all on.
we already,
Investment.
we already have lines right there ourselves.
Yep.
We're already serving in that same place, so, we would probably not consider that.
Okay. Just thinking if the issue is you're having to front the money and then they're expecting to be making the money back over time, well, maybe just make them front the money.
They can still front the money and give it to me.
I'm sure you'd be happy about that, yeah. That'd be nice.
But back to Dick's point, we don't know if it's gonna be 1 year, 2 years, 20 years, maybe they'll never get.
Say if it were in the next 5 to 10 years, it may be to everybody's benefit, yours, the cities, and the residents of each of these areas, to have you relinquish some of this checkerboard that's within city limits, $1 million now, to the city, in a general overall agreement that would let them have that stuff that's out here by Bliss Point. And you would either retain or sign over the new development. See what I'm getting at? Is that if that were to happen, it would be early in your depreciation schedule. And it may be a good time to be talking about taking care of this checkerboard service that's within town here.
So the other issue that comes up there, Dick, with the depreciation schedule.
Yeah.
Is the city runs on a different voltage than we do. So some of the equipment they don't
208.
want.
Yeah.
So
208
we don't
versus
get any
240.
equipment.
Yeah.
All right, if there are no further questions, I appreciate you listening. I just asked, we are pro for the development. We just need to find a way to protect our members and our investment, and anything that the county commission can do, I would appreciate that. So thank you for listening to me.
Please, thank you.
Thank you. Problem. No more visitors to be night. Then we can go on to our 2024 budget supplements. And that's $1,500,607. That's from the general fund for building projects to the 2025 budget. And the purpose is for the general government building improvements.
And just for clarification, that is money that we already have set aside. We just didn't budget for it. So while it's sitting there, we have to get the spending authority to actually take care of that. And since the courthouse renovation project is finished, we just need to supplement that into the budget. Properly account for it.
Move to approve the supplement.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the supplemental. Any discussion? Yeah, I mean, this is purely an accounting move, that gives us spending authority to continue the projects that are in process right now.
We have the money in our left pocket. We can only spend it legally out of our right pocket, so we're moving it from left to right.
That's right. I believe the way the resolution is written, I should do a roll call vote.
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mochler,
Yes.
Graylow,
Yes.
Yes.
Stevie,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Motion carries. Well, would you be? Two. Your vote expense.
Yeah, one another, thing. Other ceases on disability, drugs and alcohol after a back injury and system care and past immediate and
Move to approve the $1,900 expenditure for funeral costs. Second.
Here's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
The care facility was in the building or in the building.
There's no further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Drew. Maybe we have an agreement for animal control.
You want that in your packet. So I got this, in the past, we've had an agreement with Spokes Humane Society, don't know where any of that stands right now. I have asked them for some changes to this. And I don't know if Michael's had a chance to look at it either, but one thing I asked them to consider is that I don't believe the agreement differentiates between rural Clay County and the three incorporated cities. Although the cover letter, not the cover letter that came with it, but the cover email that came with it, says we're only talking about the rural areas contract, it doesn't say that. So I had hoped that we could get that changed. Other than that, I think it's probably appropriate for the county to have a contract for what's with animals. And they gave me a printout of the animals brought in for the last 2 years. It's 13, 12 of them cats. So I did ask how many of those are people wanting to thin their own barn cat. What do you call it, little cats? Herd, I don't know. And then, so they said they have no way of knowing that, but obviously if we think that they would tell us the addresses that they came from if we want to look into it further, but we're talking maybe, average 7 a year. The fee is, what was it, $14 a day plus a $20 vet fee for everyone that comes in, so all said, it might be a couple $100 a year to the county, as long as they don't find themselves getting billed for the city of Irene, Wakanda. Vermillion took 13 in at the same time, Wakanda took in 1, none mentioned from Irene, but I think all of these towns have their own contracts. So I don't think that there's any intent that we would have to pick any of those up if the agreement is in that way that I can see. So I just thought that should be changed. So I sent that to Michael and Carrie pretty much as soon as I got it without. And then I reached out to them for the changes, but you might have more questions if you want to clarify.
And this is Michael, I'm here as well. Andy, I did have a chance to look at that. I agree with you. I think the only thing I saw was specifying as to the rural communities rather than Vermillion, Irene, Wakanda. It looked like that was the intent anyway, but if they would just specifically spell that out, that would make me more at ease.
Then I spoke to the Turner County Sheriff. They also received one. Theirs is different than ours, and I don't know quite why, but theirs has a flat fee. And in the cover letter, it mentions a flat fee as an option, but they have a flat fee of a few $100s a month. And so I think that, or maybe that was a few $100 a year. I asked him to send me a copy of it to make sure I wasn't missing anything. But the more we talked, the more it sounded like we had different options presented to us by the Humane Society. And maybe that's because they don't have contracts with communities up there. I don't know, but I like our agreement that was offered to us better because it's per animal.
So it sounds like what we need to do is make a language change, and we've got time. It doesn't start until January 1st. So perhaps we can, if you could work on that language change with Michael and then bring it to the next.
Very sure do that. I just wanted to make sure that since we got it on the agenda, I thought we'd leave it on and make sure you didn't have other questions you want us to try to put in there, or we come back again and then change it again.
So do you take them?
No, it's been very rare that I have taken an animal up there. Actually, it was from Wakanda. That we picked up one that the owner just let it run and left town for a week. And we took it up there and he was prosecuted for neglect. And That's the only one in real distant history that I can even remember that we took up there. Most of these are drop-offs. And that's when people call in about a stray or something, they take it from the inside.
Because the humane society's got to come down and get billed for that too.
We'll get billed for that if we ask them to come. But the nice thing is, with the contract, if we need the humane society, they'll come.
So it's
Without the
referrals,
contract, they
so,
won't.
right, yeah.
And if you saw what happened in Lincoln County where they had that person that had the Sioux Falls Humane Society come in there, they took dozens of animals out and then involved in investigation and prosecution. It'd be good to have them under contract with us if we had a situation. Or if we had an animal that needed to be caught that we couldn't catch, be dealt with. We'd have to pay them for all their time to do it, but at least they're in our corner and not somebody that we refuse to work with.
My only other question was, is Yankton not, they have a human society.
Yeah, they've got their Heartland Humane Society in Yankton.
They're not gonna have a facility.
Yeah,
It's right. They're mostly run on volunteers.
yeah, I think that they're far less funded there. So,
You saw the service area map here. They're like, oh, they're like a quarter of the state.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Sioux Falls Humane Society's always been good for us. And we've just basically been operating, I think, without a contract for years. Now they're just saying they need a contract if they want to keep working with us.
The only question that I had out of here was about what the flat rate might be, because it looks like it's set by how many animals they see. So I don't know if they would give us, I mean, if they're only seeing 13 and they set it based on that, and if that's a discounted rate or something, then maybe that's real low anyway, just a fixed cost, but I don't
If we have 0, then our cost will be 0.
that's true. That's true.
But we also have to pay the vet bill.
There's $20
It's gonna be more
minimum.
than $200.
Yeah, if one of them comes in bleeding or injured, they're gonna take care of it.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna keep it for a certain amount of time before they use it. So they're gonna take care of it. that time.
That's a lot when you take it back.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping this isn't gonna turn into a funding source. Because there's a lot of strays out there that can be picked up and taken to it.
Well, maybe we should lock the flat rate then.
Well,
I can ask what that is.
It might be worth checking and just making sure that we know what it covers too. Because I mean, if it also covers staff time to come down, if it also covers vet bills by some miracle or something like that.
The flat rate's gonna cover that.
no.
I wouldn't expect that it would.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet that's gonna come.
I think
Or
that's the
obviously
city
discount on it.
contract with Sioux City.
Well, they say they have a contract, well, their Paul says that, I don't know if they have other contracts, but they only took 13 animals up there in the same time that we did. Well, we did, Clay County residents took them up there. And so I don't know if that means Vermillion residents did the drop offs, I don't know. Or Vermillion animals, I drive them up there. Because I do think, and I definitely don't know exactly how they operate, but I think that after a certain amount of time, the money animals will transport some elsewhere. I don't think they use nice here after doing it or anything like that anymore. But I don't know how they operate.
There's a huge voluntary sector, doing the bulk of this work in Vermillion.
Yeah, and a lot of that, probably most of that goes to Heart.
Yes. Yeah, the local
That's probably
residents.
what it is, there's a role.
Yes.
Work really closely with Heartland and they actually are out there trapping cats all the time. There's a lot of plastic in town, and it's a huge problem because of students, leaving cats. And they live wild out on the block. I mean, they live quite about them. In the spring, the kitties all come out of the woods and their mamas.
Let them live at their home.
Yeah,
The city brings them up.
Really?
there's quite a number of distinct cats that show up on my game cam.
Big ones?
In the backyard. Well, I haven't seen a big one yet. That's up to Vermillion Police Department, right? To video cam those, dash cam those. But yeah, there's a number of cats. I'd say about 1/5 of the triggers on my game cam are cats. But then the possums, raccoons, deer, badger, but most are cats.
So should we table this to the next meeting?
Yeah.
I move the table.
Second.
The motion and second table.
So I'll
All
make
those
sure
in
that-
favor, say aye. Opposed?
I'll talk to them, but, we're only talking about rural cats. And
Yes.
that's really, and that's, I'll make sure that it reads some stuff.
Thank you. All right, vouchers.
A question on two of them. One was Lisa Woods travel. It was under state's attorney travel.
Oh, let's fix that.
Is that right? I think I read mine, right? And then Linda Manning for election was 105, and other people getting 150. Were those two numbers, was that right, or were those two numbers transposed?
She came in election night. And then she was also on call,
So the 105.
so that would be right.
Okay,
Yeah,
Because she was here during the pre-election
right, and that
polling
one,
up in your office.
that one on payroll.
Yeah,
That
okay.
a little bit different, appointment of officials.
yeah, that was the only reason I questioned. Because it was like 105 versus 150.
No.
Maybe just-
I could
Keyed in
see
wrong
where that
every time.
be transposed, but no, 105 is correct.
Any further discussion? Hearing that, all those in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. County-owned property discussion. Surplus declaration and or transfer to city of Lynn.
I think we figured out how to transfer that piece on chestnuts.
Yeah,
I'll move to transfer that property.
did discussions with the city, turn out okay for that type of a transfer? That they would accept the gift? I assume it did.
Well, there's an email back
Yeah,
there.
that's an email.
Yeah, okay,
That said, the
that,
city would accept it.
yeah, okay, I missed that.
So there's a motion and a second to transfer the property on Chestnut Street to the city of Vermillion and express their willingness to accept it. Any further discussion?
Is that something, Michael, that you'll write that contract?
I can write whatever's necessary. It may just be as simple as writing a deed. I mean, we have these meetings that are all recorded, so that may be the only thing that's necessary.
So we can leave that in your court.
That's great, and I'll work with the city manager as well to see what they need. And we should be able to affect that here, hopefully certainly by the time we meet again.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Culvert on 304.
So I got a call this morning, they're digging along 304. And they got to a driveway, there's a culvert that's collapsed, or it's bad, they need to replace it. Who's digging? It's Jeremy Carlson doing the work there. So they didn't, I mean, I told them they had to fill out the form, they had talked about it, and he said, no, we gotta go through the proper procedure. Granted, we're getting to that time of year. I didn't know if we would be okay if Rod, looked at it, okayed it, because we're 2 weeks away from our next meeting. If we would be okay with allowing them to replace it, and as long as he has the permit the way it's supposed to be and the check in hand. Before he ever says anything, it says yes or no.
Yeah, I think to pre-authorize it, because they're in construction now.
Yeah.
In that area, it's going to be better for all concerned to go ahead, providing it's done according to, our policy. So I would move that we pre-approve this, permit, for that construction on 304th Street.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No, if you want, I'll follow up with Rod on
Thank
it,
you.
and then text him the permit that they sent me.
That would be great.
In doing a pre-approval, we shouldn't have to address it again.
We'll just have to sign, well, at the next meeting, we'll have to sign and turn it up to the.
Yeah,
Especially this time of year.
yes,
And if Rod has any problems with it, I mean, then we gotta wait.
we'll try.
Okay.
So we have a motion. We have a second.
Yeah.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we need to have a vote to authorize the chair to sign a letter to a kind of property owners adjoining surplus county.
And move to authorize the chairwoman to sign that letter.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything on Pier Board buildings?
No.
Okay. Clay County Park?
Just one small thing, Rod's not here, but at the previous meeting, Rod had asked me if I'd received the invoice, for gravel. And at that moment, I couldn't recall. So I think I said something like, I'm not sure, or I don't think so. So, he sent me an invoice for the gravel, which I promptly forwarded on to the treasurer of the park board and promptly got a response. This appears to be gravel for the same places, but this is a different amount on the invoice. Is this a different invoice or the same invoice? And I recalled that I had previously received it, had given it to them, and they should have provided a check already. So I wanted to follow up and see whether the check had been received. The amounts are different. Unfortunately, the second invoice is lower, so too bad from the park board's point of view. I just wanted to mention that. We'll figure it out. Do you know, Carrie, have you seen that come through?
Off the top of my head, I could not.
Okay, just make sure that's not Rod yelling answers down the hall. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, just thought I'd share that. I believe it was all the same locations. I don't think that we have gravel dumped at those 3 locations twice, so. Yeah, so we'll get it straightened out, but in the previous meeting, I incorrectly stated that we had not received it. Yeah.
Building project?
Moving along, we have a meeting tomorrow. At 10:30, so.
Okay.
Lot of changes on the inside. Interesting to see, I haven't seen it for a month, so.
A lot of changes as far as progress?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, good.
I mean, we went from an open space to it's getting filled up now.
Like all the walls are, yeah, not in the jail so much, they go slower in the jail.
Yeah, they're still doing a lot in there.
Yeah.
Compared to what it was.
Yeah, at some point I'd love to tour it.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah,
Be interested.
I saw on the plate talk this week that Mayor Cole said he'd gotten a tour.
I was a little
I'm
jealous.
just hoping we can get a chance.
Well, that was an impromptu one, but because Dusty Johnson showed up.
Oh, okay.
So all we gotta do is find a representative or a senator and then we can.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to get.
We were arranging for the commission to meet with, I think, the mayor and city manager, but they weren't available when you guys were, and it just never happened. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
We're planning.
Sounds good.
Would that be a public meeting? So if you all
If
come,
we're all there, it would just need to be posted.
so ideally though, if we went from a scheduled commission meeting, put it on the agenda, but then go out there, would that be something?
That's a good idea.
That would work.
We could, they like to do it on Fridays when there's not a lot of workers. but-
Yeah,
Things kind of slow down around the noon hour too.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Save some posting costs. Yeah.
Anything on joint jurisdiction?
we have a meeting tonight to go through three of the maps that are part of it, and a couple other issues. So we are meeting this evening at City Hall.
Anything else?
Did we come up with a date? Drew, was that December 6th or something? We had a joint meeting with the city again?
That was the one they were batting around.
Yeah. they were- they were
I'm not
in
seeing
the-
everybody's responses, so.
Yeah, I didn't see everyone's response either, but there was
Or is it not
there's a
set?
date that I wrote down, so.
I put it in my calendar.
December.
I've just seen Carrie and Drew listed on them, so I don't know if anybody else is saying the same things or different things, but
I've seen a few that seem like the meeting is ago.
I'm all right at that time, so if this is setting that time, then yeah. I'll work.
Is it the fourth then or the sixth?
Six, at 6 PM, I think, all right?
On a Friday? December 17th.
Oh, I don't know, yeah, 6 PM, I don't know where the six came from, yeah.
17th.
17. That sounds better.
Yeah. It's a Tuesday that we don't have a meeting in the morning. Yes, that's right.
At 6 P.M.
Any need for an executive session? Any other business? There a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion with a second, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed?
Well, we sure seem reluctant.